Good evening, I'm Kimberly Suiters. Breaking news from the U.S. Capitol. Police there just now wrapping up a press conference after a man shot himself and sent the entire area into lockdown today. ABC 7 has been on this story since it first broke. We have live team coverage tonight. And let's begin with Richard Reeve. Rich, that lockdown has lifted, but 2 hours later and still a kind of surreal scene outside the Capitol.
Kim, you can look around here and see, yes, that lockdown has been lifted, but look around, you can still see that there are plenty of police in the area. They've roped off some areas directly in front of the U.S. Capitol. Neither we, the media, nor anyone else is allowed in that area. As you said, several tense hours here. This began just after 1 this afternoon. We have some video we can show you of the activity out here. Police tell us that one man was walking near one of the fountains around the west side of the U.S. Capitol. He pulled out a gun and shot himself. A witness told us it sounded like a balloon popping. Now, nearby that man's body was a backpack and a roller case. They were considered suspicious packages. Both the U.S. Capitol and the Visitor Center were locked down. No one was allowed in or out of the Capitol. Bomb techs came by. They inspected those bags. They discovered pretty much there were only clothing in there. But the initial concerns were when that unidentified man pulled out that gun.
A subject walking in a public area at the U.S. Capitol on the west front produced a weapon and engaged in a self-inflicted gunshot wound. There were no shots fired by the U.S. Capitol Police or any other law enforcement agency.
And as you can see, the police still very much here on the scene. Now, nearby that body, there was a sign that read something to the effect of that the 1% need to pay more taxes. We do know there were several protests in the area. We don't know if this man is connected with that in any way. Now, police say they believe they know who the man is, but they have not yet publicly identified him. They say there is no nexus to terrorism in connection with this incident. Again, the biggest concern for authorities right now is trying to figure out why this man came here and did this in the first place. From the U.S. Capitol, Richard Reeve, ABC 7 News.
And now we're hearing from someone who was just feet away from that gunshot. Kevin Lewis continues our team coverage tonight. Kevin, to hear this man tell it, everything just happened in a split second.
It sure did, Kimberly. We talked to a number of people here at the U.S. Capitol, but Robert Bishop of Annapolis had the most up-close and dramatic account of this midday suicide. Robert Bishop, he was taking a bike ride along the National Mall, taking in the sights of the Cherry Blossom Festival. That ride took him to the U.S. Capitol. In fact, he was at that yellow water fountain where you can see some people beside right now. This is Robert Bishop's story.
Girl and the mother that was standing there both started crying and holding their face and getting all upset.
Robert Bishop of Annapolis was snapping a selfie near the western base of the U.S. Capitol when he heard what he says sounded like a balloon pop.
But he had just walked out and just walked right up, and like I said, when I heard it and I turned and I saw him fall, it was just an odd place to do it.
Bishop says around 50 to 60 people witnessed the public suicide. An off-duty U.S. Capitol police officer happened to be among that crowd. When the officer saw a black rolling bag beside the dead man, he immediately cleared the area.
There were 50 people, 60 people easily up there, and everybody just started scrambling.
Bishop can't recall what the man looked like, his age, or even what he was wearing, but is certain he had something in his hand.
He had a sign, and the sign said something about taxing the 1% or 1% taxation or something to that effect. I've been coming down here for years. I live in Annapolis, so I tell my kids we don't live in fear of these type of things. They can happen anywhere at any time, and we can't let it change who we are and how we operate.
Again, Robert Bishop of Annapolis, one of about 60 people that witnessed this very public midday suicide. And you have to remember, there were likely hundreds of tourists inside the visitor center here. They all had a shelter in place for nearly 3 hours. So, Kimberly, clearly many people will not forget this day. We're live at the U.S. Capitol. I'm Kevin Lewis, ABC 7 News.